Hi there, my name is Michael, and I've been collecting video games for the last several years now. It was a great hobby for a while, but then I decided to take the biggest step in my life. I joined the Navy when I turned 21 years old, and I served 5 years on board the USS Abraham Lincoln. Now as a veteran, join me as I rediscover the fun and enjoyment of this old hobby. Alright everybody, I know it's been a while since I've last posted a video, but I am back, and today we are going to be taking a quick look at my Atari 2600 game collection this time. This is currently the second largest collection for one system that I have. I currently have 223 unique games for the system. I actually used to have a lot more than this. I used to collect a lot of label variations of Atari games when I first started doing this. I just recently sold those to make a little bit of extra money and, well, quite frankly, to save up a lot of space because, you know, Atari games, after you've had quite a few of them, take a lot of room. So I really needed to slim things down a little bit, but I kept at least one copy of everything that I have. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move some of this stuff out of the way. And we're going to go row by row, and I'm going to show you guys real quick what I've got up here on the shelf. Alright, well, before I show you guys the bulk of the collection, I just wanted to get this out of the way real quick, which is probably the most rare Atari 2600 game that I have. I don't really have anything that rare for Atari, to be honest with you. As you guys will see, pretty much all of this is pretty common and pretty cheap to find. I mean, I do have some obscure games in here, but nothing really outrageously priced or anything. Except for this one right here. I found this at a... it's like a video game slash DVD slash anime book slash nerd merchandise kind of store. It's called Disc Replay. It's a chain of stores that's in Michigan. I believe that there's some in Ohio and I think a few in Indiana. I'm not positive. But I know that it's a chain of stores in Michigan, which is where I grew up. But anyway, I found this behind the shelf with a bunch of other common Atari games, and I just happened to pick it up because it was one that I just didn't have. I didn't really realize how expensive it was until I got home and did a little bit of further research on it. I don't really remember, to be honest with you, how much I paid for it. It definitely wasn't near what it's worth now. You can find this on eBay or at a store if you're lucky, anywhere between like $200 to $300 now. It just depends on, I guess, the condition and whether it's loose or if it has the box or not. And I think that's partially why this game is a little bit more expensive, because not many people know about this. I think that if it was as famous as something like Pepsi Invaders comes to mind as a really rare Atari game, or Air Raid is another one, then, you know, it would definitely be a lot higher in price. But because this one is a little bit more obscure, not many people know about it, it's not really worth all that much in comparison, but it's definitely the rarest and most expensive game for the system that I have. So I just wanted to show that off real quick. And now we're going to go ahead and go row by row, and I'm going to show you guys the rest of my Atari 2600 collection. Alright you guys, so I was just trying to mess with my phone for a little bit to try and find the best way to film this without showing too much glare, so I will be moving from side to side a little bit to kind of keep the glare out of the filming process here. Unfortunately, this shelf over here doesn't have the greatest lighting, so I kind of have to get a little extra creative with filming over here. But anyways, so we're going to start with my Activision games, which I'm pretty close to having all of them. I think there's only one or two that I'm missing. But let's just go ahead and scan down and show you guys everything that I have. All the classics, and I've got a lot of the more obscure ones too, like Plaque Attack was one of the more obscure ones. Pitfall 2, which isn't too obscure, but definitely not as common as the first Pitfall, but you can get it for a pretty decent price now. Kung Fu Master, which is kind of like Kung Fu for the NES, but it's, you know, for Atari. That game's pretty obscure, pretty uncommon. And that's it for Activision, and now we're going into Atari-made games. And I've got my Atari-made games all up on this shelf here, and it kind of trickles down here to this area, which we'll get to, and then back to down here on the last shelf. But I'm just gonna, like I said, go row by row, scan through real quick, and show you guys everything I have, and talk about anything that might be a little bit obscure, a little bit weird, or just anything that I just feel like talking about. These red label ones came out a little bit later in the system's life, so they're a little bit more intricate than earlier Atari games. I just have some really common stuff in here, but Atari's great. You know, Atari is timeless. I mean, even in 2021, you can pop in any of these, well, most of these, and still have a lot of fun playing them. They're especially great for little kids because they don't really require a whole lot of thought. And, you know, of course, every game only utilizes one button on the controller. So if you have kids, especially little kids, and you want to introduce them to video games, Atari 2600 might be the best way to go. And let's go ahead and move on down here to the next shelf, where we are going to show off Sega, I believe. I think this is Sega. Yep, Sega. And a couple more obscure companies. Ramid, I guess, is a pretty uncommon game. And then 20th Century Fox, sorry, Parker Brothers. Parker Brothers actually had some really good arcade ports, like Popeye is actually pretty decent, Q*bert's pretty good, Frogger is good. I don't have Frogger 2, that's on my list of games that I really want to get, that I still don't have. Gyrus is surprisingly good for this system, given the limitations. Coleco also had some decent arcade ports, like Donkey Kong Jr. is pretty good. The original Donkey Kong, I think they could have done a little bit better job with, but it's playable, it's not too bad. And then we got 20th Century Fox, which had a lot of movie licenses. Like right here, you can't really see because it's covered, but which one is this? Oh, MASH, the game. They made a game of MASH. And then this one, Flash Gordon. Yep, Flash Gordon. So that's pretty cool. It was pretty neat back then, especially to have any games based off of a movie license. So those are really neat to have. Little pop culture items there. Solar Fox is a really good game. Wizard of War. I can't remember the company that makes these. Oh, CBS. CBS makes these. All of these, well, most of these are really good. Omega Race is awesome. Wizard of War is good. Solar Fox is great. Gorf is good. I don't really remember much about Blueprint, but if it's anything like the rest of these, it's going to be a pretty decent game. A Magic. Most of these games are pretty good. Demon Attack is great. Firefighter's a good game. Atlantis is okay. Cosmic Arc is awesome. Dragonfire is an awesome game. This is one of my favorites. I love the artwork on it too. I mean, just look at that. I mean, it's amazing. What's the company that makes these? Data Age? Don't really know too much about them, but here's some of their games. Airlock, Bugs, Snake, and Warplock. Bermuda Triangle. Yeah, I haven't really played these. And then we get into the rest of my Atari-made, Atari-published games. Berserk being one of my absolute favorites. And then going on down here to the last shelf as I attempt to move to get the glare out of the filming. There we go. As we go down. Nothing really noteworthy down here. Missile Command is a classic. Soccer, and then Pele's Soccer. I'm pretty sure those are the same game. But yeah, that's about it. As I mentioned, guys, I don't really have anything terribly rare, but this is a collection video that I've been wanting to make because this is a pretty big collection that I have. And I'm always looking to add more, so You know, I'm always on the hunt for more Atari games to add to the collection, especially now. If you guys want to start a collection of retro games and you want to do it on a budget, you know, Atari is definitely a really good choice to start with. So that's it, you guys. That's my Atari 2600 collection. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. I'll do what I can to respond. And as always, guys, have a great day, and I'll see you next time.